First of all, my name's Jose, Norway 4 Bravo Alpha Alpha, and I'll get it out of the way. I'm a full-blown aluminum addict. So am I in the right meeting? Very, very happy to be with you. I'm going to start if I can share this real quick. Let's see what we got. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it looks good.
Good. Hey, all kidding aside, really, really happy to be here. Thanks, Brian, for inviting me. I do this about, probably 40 times a year, different venues, different sizes. It's one of the things I really, really enjoy doing. Spread a little bit of love about the CQ Worked All Zone program. A lot of people know what it is. And as long as it's been around, it's sometimes surprising where people who actually seem like they're versed in it, there's a lot of missteps and kind of fallacies, and hopefully we can clear some of that up at the end with some questions you might have. So I do call this presentation All Things CQ Worked All Zone and Don Quixote and then some. So going to share like I said, the Worked All Zone program to you, kind of like what drives me every single day after almost 50 years of DXing and chasing zones and so forth, what kind of keeps me going. And then I'll share a little bit about some of the station design that we have here briefly at the end, so people know when they hear my call, they kind of know where it starts, right? So I got started in ham radio at the age of 12. That's about that's a 4 or 5 beer story, but I wouldn't have changed anything. I was really smart, and my dad was a doctor at the time, and I got him into radio, which was great because he was too busy for radio, but he bankrolled the whole thing. So I say I'm very, very spoiled from a very young age. With what we had at the time, I was able to work DXCC as a novice. I do know Bernie W3UR, I think, did the same thing. We got licensed the exact same time. So that's kind of extra information. I got my extra class license when I was 14. CW is still my first love. It started out that way. I had a great CW mentor, Bill Alexander, Kilowatt 4 X-ray Papa, long since passed, but he's the one that got me proficient in Morse code and kind of really quick, to be honest with you. And I still continue that love affair with it. I've had my call sign since I got the extra class license. I was in the Navy for 23 years. I'm a purist. When I retired and went to Massachusetts, it bugged me about having N4 call in one area. So I actually found November 1 Bravo Alpha Alpha, and it was not taken, which I thought was strange because the Boston Athletic Association, I thought for a fact, would have had that scarfed up, but they did not. So I kept that call for about 18 months, and I switched back to N4 BAA because the call was just too well known at that point. And I got tired of people calling me N4 BAA when I was really N1 BAA, right? I've been a CQ zone chaser since day one. Again, my mentor got me pointed in that direction. I do chase it on every band, every mode, DX, zones, etc. And I was fortunate enough to be able to secure my first worked all zone at the age of 14, which was CW at the time, and not mixed. So I'm kind of proud of that. I did mention the 23 years in the Navy. I've been real fortunate to operate from Kuwait, really Iraq, Guantanamo Bay, which is probably my favorite place operating. Just had a blast with it. So worked all zone, what's the big deal, right? So this is hands down the toughest DX award to obtain. This slide has changed several times. It started out with 100, but I took over the program 4 years ago, and about 6 months into it, I had a gentleman from Seven Land. Don't remember the call off the top of my head. I should throw that in here because it's important. He sent me a nice email, and he says, Jose, how can I not, you tell me I'm not qualified for a Worked All Zone award, and I have over 300 countries. And I said, well, it's pretty easy. You've worked all the countries, but you're still lacking Mongolia for zone 23, and you haven't worked an Asian UA0Y call sign. So he says, are you kidding me? So it took him about 3 weeks. He focused and he got it. So he no longer held that distinction, but it is possible. Like I said, 300 countries and not even have one worked all zone, right? It's super, super difficult on the low bands. With the advent over the last 10 years with remote technology and remote ham radio and so forth, there's been just a huge push with people using remote, specifically those in HOAs, not knocking it. It's one of the things I really love about our hobby is there's something for everybody, whether You don't like remote operation, it's here to stay, and we had to embrace it. So we do offer technology awards for those who want to just use technology, but from not counting technology, there's really 42 core worked all zone awards if you don't count the remote distinction. So again, something for everybody. The advent when digital modes came around, again, like it or not, it really opened up the CQ Worked All Zone Award application volume, if you will, just because of that weak signal capability. And again, people who ham operators who did not have, a 100-foot tower and mono banders or a nice tri-bander were now in the game. I kind of proved it here. I've been at this location 8 years, and for the first 18 months, I was on a lot of business travel and so forth, but I was able to work all zone on 10, 12, 17, and 30 with nothing more than a sloper at 30 feet. So it's very easy to do on FT8. So again, something for everybody. The worked all zone, specifically with the CQ prefix on the front end, really carries a lot of clout with most amateurs who've been around a while. One of the questions I normally get at the end is, really what's the deal with CQ magazine? Well, full disclosure, the magazine actually has gone under. It is up for sale since Richard Ross or Dick Ross passed away. I guess it was last year. Nobody really wanted to keep it up and push it forward, which was really a shame. But in this new tech world that we're in, digital, everything's online. It's just really, really hard, or harder, I should say, to keep that paper magazine going. And his strategy at the time was he was really hell bent on keeping it as much non-digital as he could. So it is what it is. I did got a lot of support from them. 100% green light to do with it whatever I felt was best for the community, for the zone chasers. And they respected the fact that I've been chasing this award for so many years. I really had some good ideas that weren't all genesis from me, but from different hams and conversations and ham fests and Dayton trips. And we kind of morphed it. So it's changed a little bit over the years. So if you're not familiar with it, here's your CQ Worked All Zone map. Has not really changed since its inception, which is really, really, really cool. The Worked All Zone program is really the second oldest award in amateur radio, second right behind Worked All Continents. The program itself can be, all the QSOs can be confirmed via physical QSL, which is what we call our legacy cards, right? Logbook of the World, as well as EQSL. So those three are the main mediums. So the important part about chasing the Worked All Zone Award really is to have a game plan, right? It's in my line of work as a lean practitioner or an operational excellence contributor, is we look at our current state, we look at the future state, and we build a path to get there. And chasing zones, or really DXEC, is no different. So if you can ID which zones you currently have, it'll tell you what the gaps are, and you can look and see what kind of strategy you need, whether it's on the high bands or is it on the low bands, and come up with a game plan to strategically target those areas and move forward. I'm a big fan of setting up DX alerts. Most of the modern DX logging programs or logging programs have some kind of function that lets you either alert to new ones, maybe text you when a new one comes on, or email you, or both. And then when you narrow it down and you get to those last couple of zones that you need, setting up schedules might be the order of the day. When I got my 40-meter RTTY Worked All Zone back in 2020, it was only the second RTTY on 40-meter Worked All Zone award that had been earned. The other one was 31 years prior to mine. So it does take some time, but it took me 18 months of schedules with Zone 26 to get that, and I was pretty happy to get that. Again, here's my solution. I have my logging program pulling from different telnets, have my own local skimmer, and when it detects something that I need, it actually emails me and texts me the call sign, the frequency, et cetera, and if I'm mowing the grass or whatever, I put down whatever I'm doing. I come in here, I work it, and I go back to doing what I'm doing. If I'm on the road or at work, I do it remotely. I can control about 90% of my station with my phone. So I try not to miss too much, specifically in the 6-meter sporadic E season. You got to be there. And if you're at work and you can't log in for a couple hours, that puppy is gone. Really, what the Logbook of the World has made applying for the work zone super, super easy. And again, like I said, I've been given the green light to change a lot of things. I work hand in hand with the Logbook of the World, or ARRL IT staff. We've tweaked the insides so that it becomes very, I'll say, more user friendly. We still have some interface stuff to do, but now when you submit via Logbook of the World, I instantaneously get that application within 15 seconds, and I can act upon it and lengthen the time and increase the, I guess, the pleasure experience for people applying for worked all zones. My turnaround time normally, even if I'm on business travel, is less than 48 hours for the most part, with some rare exceptions. So pretty proud of that. I've shortened this presentation up somewhat. I true to my my lean roots, taking feedback from those that I present to. The first probably 10 or so, there was a whole lot of interest in some nuts and bolts on really how to drill down in your Logbook of the World account to find out what's the details around which zones you may be missing on a given band or band mode, etc. So I've simplified this a little bit so it's not so confusing, but at the end of the day, everything you need to know is in Logbook of the World. Everything in Logbook of the World, whether it's worked all zone, DXCC, VUCC, prefixes, states, whatever, anything in blue you can click on and it will expand to the next level and drill down. And this is just a real easy way to see something here. So you can see that it's hard for me to see what I got here, but let me look here. Just pardon me for a second. I got to see what the heck. That's easier for me. Can you still see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. So you can see on the mixed and the digital, there's actually 40 zones that have actually been awarded. So those have been applied for or submitted by the user. If you look at the other circles, which represent 20-meter digital and 17-meter digital, they're a little bit short of the 40 zones required for those. So real intuitive, one-stop shop. And if you wanted to learn the details for those ones on the side, like 20-meter digital, if you had clicked on that, the next screen would have opened and showed you that really you're missing zones 2, 12, and zones 36 respectively. So you can come up with a strategy to go uniquely hunt those zones, taking into consideration the band you need them on, sunrise and sunsets, et cetera, et cetera. So let's say you go through all that process, and no matter what band or mode it is, because nobody gets them all at one time. But as you're trickling through the process, and you've found out, oh my goodness, I got 40 zones. Really, you just got to submit them, and it's super, super easy now with the new interface. You just go online, scroll down to the worked all zone part of Logbook of the World, hit application, and just follow step by step. Once you submit them, like I said, you pay ARRL their fees, and a big misconception is misunderstanding is that the ARRL or Logbook of the World fees that you pay, normally $8 for 40 zones, roughly, that is completely separate from the CQ processing fees. So once your application is sent to me, the next step is I will contact you and let you know, hey, thank you very much. I validated that you have the confirmations required for whatever award. This is the CQ processing fee. Once that gets paid, normally via PayPal, check, something like that, then I do my part and the system starts processing it. When I took this over, it took around 19 minutes per application to process. And through some lean thinking and some simplification and some process improvements, it's down to about 3.5 minutes for a normal application, about 6 minutes end to end for a 5-band worked all zone application. So a lot easier for me to squeeze in when I'm on business travel, log in remotely, knock those out so people aren't waiting. I don't know that the queue ever gets more than 10 to 12 applications in it, which is really, really good. So this is something that I really hang my hat on. And for years, even, this is a position that I've really tongue in cheek had been looking at for over 40 years. And I've had an intimate relationship with each of the worked all zone managers in the past, my predecessors. And jokingly, I've always said, hey, I really want that program. And I've made notes along the way. And one of those sticking points with me kind of early on was very selfish, by the way, is I did not understand why so few people could earn a plaque. So if you did not have all the zones for a 5-band worked all zone, or all 40 zones on 160 meters, or all zones on 6 meters, you couldn't get a plaque. And I thought that was disingenuous, actually, because there's a lot of super passionate ham radio operators who love what we do. We love getting up early. We love staying up late. We love developing our slump shoulders from listening to the headsets and trying to pull that CW signal out, right? So I changed that, and I thought I'd get a lot more pushback than I did, but I did not. It was very well received. And part of that green light that I spoke of was develop a worked all zone plaque program that allowed anyone who earned any award the opportunity to order a plaque to represent their hard work, specifically for 166 EME satellite, where 40 zones is really, really hard. Allowing those operators to order a plaque that they could put on the wall and see that they got 27 zones to keep them motivated and so forth has really, really been well received. And I've received some really great feedback regarding the program. The plaque maker that they used to have, let's say for the legacy plaques, used to be somewhere in New England, and the worked all zone manager, of course, as it changed, could be anywhere. I just happened to be really lucky that I identified a new plaque supporter, and she runs her business about 2.5 miles from my house. So we're collaborating all the time, taking feedback, and we've landed on what we think is really kind of I'll say the premier ham radio plaque award program, as well as delivery process. I think it's here. I do say 10-day delivery time anywhere in the US and 21 days anywhere in the rest of the world. The actual time for that, from the time that someone actually says, hey, I like that plaque, they get it within 4 days, which is pretty neat. In 21 days, we've had one plaque in over 700, and it was Perth, Australia, that took about 24 days to get to them for some reason. But we do chalk it up, and in full disclosure, I say we have had one that has not met that delivery time frame. And I've also got a way to get plaques to our Russian hams pretty easily as well. So I'm using if you remember the Box 88 Moscow, the gentleman that runs that still kind of runs that program, lives in New England, and goes to Russia pretty often, like once every 2 months. And I send all the plaques and or paper awards through him, and making our Russian hams very happy as well. So we have wood and we have an acrylic. Both have a lot of options. If you're interested and you have not been there, you can go to my website, N4BAA.com, on the worked all zone tab, and take a look around. There's just tons of stuff on there. Here's what some of those plaques look like. This is like a 2-tone wood plaque on the left, pretty standard. It's like 7 by 9 inches. The one on the right is more like, I think it's 9 by 14. It's acrylic glass on black lacquer wood, very elegant. We can put up to 3 awards on one plaque, which is super cost effective. I have every legacy parchment paper award I've ever had. And there was a time where I had many of them on the wall. But when I was growing up, my mom gave me a lot of headache about the paper that I had on the wall, right? And if you decide to put them in frames, that's a lot of frames, and it takes up a lot of wall. So very elegant solution to put more than one on a plaque, and you can display it proudly. Example on the left is this is true of 6-meter EME satellite. Any of those awards that you can get the basic award at 25 or 30 zones. We have medallions that it supports medallions, so that, for that one, if you say you started out with 25 then you can add your medallions or keep you motivated to get the ones for the subsequent zones. The one on the right is a highly custom plaque. It can support over 60 worked all zone awards. And this is what I finally ended up on for my solution for worked all zones, my worked all states, and my DXCC to kind of consolidate them into one really nice looking wall without having to put frames everywhere. And I can just add a nice little label plate. And we've delivered about 11 of these worldwide. I think 9 of them are in the United States, the other 2 in Japan. And that's made out of walnut. And it's another, like I said, very elegant solution to displaying a lot of awards in a very small footprint. This is from Dimitri, RV9CX, well-known DXer. This is his 5-band worked all zone plaque, but he opted to turn it into a 10-band worked all zone plaque. So again, a one-stop shop where you can put everything in one location. Interesting to note, each medallion has, of course, the band, but it's got the date and the serial number on it. So again, it's everything that your award would have. It's just there for him to display. He just sent me, he got his last zone on 160, as a matter of fact, for number 40 yesterday. He's just waiting for the logbook confirmation. But of course, he had to let somebody like me know because his wife didn't get quite as excited as I did. I also make some backs for people for the DXCC challenge plaque, rather than just mounting or displaying the acrylic plaque on the wall or simply get it framed. I've just extended that walnut framing technique, if you would, behind it. And it's a really elegant way to display that one as well. These plaques, at least the acrylic ones, come in black or rose. This happens to go to Nikolai. He has earned the only 12-band worked all zone that I have on record. So he requested a nice elegant plaque as well in rose, 9x14, and we were happy to send that to him. This is brand new on the left. We have some new technology, got a new printer. It's a UV printer. So rather than just printing your paper certificate, we can now print that certificate right on these acrylic plaques. So they don't fade, they don't roll up, the edges don't get kind of funky. You don't need a frame for them, and it's real easy to put up. We can do this on anything from a 7x9 all the way up to a 9x14 plaque, and again, it's super sharp. On the right-hand side, this is also brand new this year that we came up with by popular demand. This wasn't my brainchild, but a lot of 5-band worked all zone chasers have there's 2 preferences. One, just to have the plaque either in portrait or landscape mode with, let's say, 191 countries, as Thor has on this plaque. But rather than wait till you have 200 and just add an all 200 zone medallion to your plaque, this one actually supports zones 195 through 200, so that you can keep motivated, because the last 5 or 7 or so are way harder than, let's say, the last 20, right? So it keeps people motivated, and we were glad to make that and give that as an offering. Has been super popular. Started in January, and I think we sent 50 of those out. Real quick, here are some examples of what the this one. Oh, I didn't mention this. So one of the changes I made was, rather than, let me back up a little bit. Back in the day, before I was around, and it was one of the failure modes of CQ Magazine, was with your $12 application fee, you received a hand-lettered paper certificate, rather large, 11x14. That was done personally by the owner, Richard Ross's wife, Kathy. Kathy still does the paper legacy hand-lettered awards in her grief and so forth, and it's something she has a passion for as well. However, they were taking it in the shorts for about $60,000 a year, because that's what they were eating on top of the $12 application fee. So I kind of talked them out of that model and said it's not sustainable, and it wasn't. So to kind of fill the gap, because that's no longer included, that's now $19 if you want the hand-lettered certificate. We probably send one out or request it after every 50 or so awards. But I think the reason is I've made it a standard offering now that for all worked all zone applicants, they not only receive their serial number, obviously, and their CQ worked all zone award letter, but they also receive a high definition PDF file, which is super suitable for printing. It's super high def, and a lot of people are just framing those and sticking those on the wall, and that's been very well received also. So here's some examples. Here's a mixed mode. Here's Halil, which is 5-band worked all zone at 192 zones. Here's Bertrand with a real special satellite mode worked all zone. Your 160 meter, well, obviously all 40 with all the medallions. And those are just super, I'll say super easy, but with a little bit of AI, it's made it a little easier, which is why we can cut down that time frame from 19 minutes down to 3.5, as well as making sure that we get all master files updated and put in the cloud, et cetera, et cetera. I won't read all of these, but normally after every sharing a moment that I have with club members or even one-on-one, I receive phone calls all week long, and I'm more than happy to take those. I learn something every single week. A new question comes up fairly periodically that allows me to kind of think about something and see what direction makes sense. But most of my work is done on the front end. The processing of the award itself is not very difficult. However, it's all the ancillary stuff like there's plenty of people's TQSL file, if you will, that isn't correct. So if you're wondering why, hey, Jose, I had these 50 DXCC cards checked back in the day that I don't have credit for in my worked all zone account. Why didn't they transfer over? The answer is simple. Sometimes a DXCC card checker is only checking it for DXCC. They're not really in tune with really what zone that should be in their brain. My brain works as mostly as a worked all zone checker as the manager, but I'm also a DXCC card checker. So that's not always the case. But if you're one of those hams that has these DXCC credits, which you've got in Logbook of the World, but you're not seeing credit given for them in your worked all zone account, please just reach out to me. We can cure that up pretty easily. I have access to everybody's Logbook of the World file, whether it's DXCC, whatever. I can log in just as if it were you. So it's pretty easy for me to check or get you on the phone and say, hey, go through your login procedure. Let's look at this together and educate them along the way, which is really, really good. If you have multiple calls, they should be linked in Logbook of the World. So that's not a huge issue. If not, I have most files. If you filed before under a different call sign, I can actually go take a look at that as well and take care of it. The process, like I said, there's no longer the need to submit via Logbook of the World and send a signed application because of the security nature of Logbook of the World and the fact you have your login and you submitted it through the system. That's your validation right there. So once you submit through Logbook of the World, you can sit back, drink something, and wait for Jose to contact you, and that'll be the end of it. We'll make short order of it and make sure you get taken care of. Like I said, pretty quick on the turnaround time. If I'm not on business travel, it's definitely within 24 hours. I'm up every morning at 4:30 DXing anyway, so normally the first 45 minutes to an hour of my day is spent either answering emails or processing those applicants from the previous day in short order. Told you about the plaque options that we have. EQSL is also a big question that we have. Only thing you can't over communicate with me enough. So whether you're using the Logbook of the World platform or the EQSL platform or both in tandem, please don't miss the opportunity to use the comments section in those application processes. I don't care if you just say, hi, Jose, how are you? I'm submitting for mixed or 20 meter CW or what it is, because I spend an enormous amount of time attempting to look at your application, going online, looking at what awards you may already have, and trying to reconcile what it is your intent is. One of the hurdles that I have and huge challenges is those hams who've submitted worked all zone awards, let's say 15 plus years ago, that are not in Logbook of the World. Some of the records can be a little bit sketchy with the way that they tracked those paper awards. So that collaboration between you, the applicant, and me as the worked all zone manager is really crucial up front, just to make sure that everybody has a good experience, because I do want you to come back. So I said this was all things CQ worked all zone and Don Quixote. So when I first started, my mentor says, hey, not just zones, but DX zones, states, Russian counties, whatever you're chasing, I do all those, is try to work them on all bands, because it's kind of like a 401k. If you work everything that you can hear and be that DX piggy, then at some point years later, you're gonna see this huge amount of investment that you have in time and QSOs, and you're just gonna find that you're missing a very, very few, and it just kind of snowballs. And that's what happened for me. So I do want to work every entity on every band, every mode, and people thought I was crazy, but that's kind of where I am right now. So if this is my actual worked all zone accounting from Logbook of the World. Except for maybe EME, which I'm just getting started in. I got a dish and I got a 4-bay array for 2 meters. My dish is for 23 centimeters. I'm not chasing, and my mantra or my guiding principle is I can't be the worked all zone manager if I'm not seen everywhere. So I'm going to be happy to be seen bouncing my signal off the moon, etc. The holy grail, which I've been chasing since day one, is the 80-meter RTTY. There's never been one. I'm missing 3 zones. I've worked 24 before that ham became a silent key within 6 months of our contact. I never was able to get that card from that person, but I'm still chasing it daily. I think 22 will be the next one. I think 26 will be the last one. Much like it was with my 40-meter RTTY, but I'm in there every winter and I'm banging it away, and I'm going to keep my dream alive. I have a sticky note that's by the shack operating positions that says, don't forget 80-meter ready. So I'm always asking for schedules, or if someone has the capability to get on that band and that mode. And it's not just the capability to get on. They got to have a listening antenna, and they're going to have some a kilowatt or more. So that's my litmus test. So big thank yous for CQ Magazine. I got a really intimate relationship with them early. Still stay in contact with Kathy, his widow. Like I said, she still does the awards. I send her a list monthly, and she's happy to do those, and she really, really likes it. I got the most awesome wife on the planet. She supported everything I've done since day one. We have a rule: if it looks like it's industrial in a yard, she's okay with it. Just make it aesthetically pleasing. So I got a lot of landscape rocks and wood features here and there that just make the yard pop, and we're super proud of it. So couldn't ask for a better partner. The CQ worked all zone chasers. I say they're a different breed, and they absolutely are. They're passionate. For those that are just really, really what I call hardcore, they're up with me every morning. We're in a chat room. We're looking around. With the new worked all zone chasers, there's plenty of stuff for them to work, and we kind of live vicariously through them because we remember what it's like. If I can reflect briefly, like I said, I was in the Navy for 23 years. Before I went into the Navy, I was missing 2 zones, and they were both on 80 meters, 23 and 26, not uncommon. And so I gave up chasing those zones because obviously I was in the Navy. I was moving around every 18 months to 2 years, and it was really, really hard. So when I decided to retire in 2007, about 2006, I said, you know what? It's time for me to get back in radio. So I got a TS 950, a Kenwood. I had a amplifier, and I put up a G5 RV, and it was a small lot that I lived on, no receiving antennas like you'll see here in a minute, but it was amazing. I had to go over 2 neighbors to the right and 2 neighbors to the left. And I got up one morning and I followed my standard work. I turned the radio on 80 meters because early in the morning. And I'm brushing my teeth one day and I heard a CW signal. I just walked in there and I listened to it, no headphones. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I put the headphones on, clicked the amp on. I had to wait 3 minutes. That is the longest 3 minutes on the planet. And come to find out, the amp, for whatever reason, did not work. My wife at this point wakes up. She's like, what's wrong? I'm spazzing out. I was probably not really happy at the time. So I sat down anyway, and with a G5 RV and 100 watts, I worked JT1CO with that G5 RV at about 50 feet. I'm like, holy crap. I was so stoked, you would not believe it. And then about 15 minutes later, as I went to turn the radio off, I also worked zone 26 as well. So I waited 23 years to work both last zones on 80 meters in the same morning, 17 minutes apart. That's how it happens. You got to be there. I would have been probably still chasing some of those. And thank everybody in your club here for Brian, like I said, for letting me kind of share some of my passion. I hope you can feel a little bit of it. So really, no matter what your station looks like, no matter what you like to do mode wise, there's something in the Worked All Zone program for you. So check into it. If you want more information, please let me know. I keep my phone on. I pretend like I'm in the Navy still. I like it. I like it when my phone rings at funny hours. With this kind of haircut, I never have a bad hair morning. So if I need to FaceTime with you, I look awesome at 2 o'clock in the morning too, by the way. So, and lastly, this is the Premier DX program. Well, wait, I want to say thank you, and I have, but there's a little bit more. So for 23 years in the Navy, I sat in my rack or my bed, if you would, that's 3 high on a Navy destroyer, a cruiser, frigates, aircraft carriers, command and control ships, docking ships. I had a blast. I miss it every single day. I designed my future station when I hit the lottery in my head and on paper, and in my head and more on paper for a long time. And this is what that dream looked like. So unless it was going to be a lottery winner somewhere in my family, this was really not going to be realistic. I still dream about this, by the way, and I have this beside my bed. But what I landed on when I came here to Indiana, after I got a hold of my engineer friend that works for Roan, by the way, if you look at the Roan specs and you build your tower to the Roan specs, that's what we're supposed to do. I don't advocate for what you see here. So my towers are all 55G towers, and they're guided at 30, 60, and 90 feet. There's some people that actually guide those at every 45 feet. Where I live, we have relentless winds, maybe 20 episodes a year that we're over 70 miles an hour for hours at a time. So I've designed and I've built all my antennas myself. Most of them are Yankee Uniform 7 Echo Foxtrot designs. Except for the 2-element 40 Moxon, which is only 2 of those in existence that I know of that are built to that size. But really, really strong. And the Roan guy says you still have a 2.5x plus factor even with your wind load on here. So if you do the calculation, there's probably 75 square feet on the 140-foot tower, which is an awful lot. And they're heavy booms. Triple walled elements, super heavy. For instance, my 20-meter antenna weighs 250 pounds, and most of them are on ring rotors, except for the rotating tower on the right. It's got 2 monster 10-element Yagis on 58-foot booms, a big 3-element full-size 30, and a combo 5-element 17, 5-element 12, which is a freaking powerhouse with a not the biggest JK tri that they make, but it is a big tri-bander. And it's an amazing antenna. So this is what we have now in Indiana. Those are the HF antennas. The 160-meter tower on the left is a full-size quarter-wave vertical made out of 25G tower, and it's got a 4-square 80-meter antenna around it. The 160-meter antenna has 200 full-size radials, and each of the 80-meter antennas also have 100 below it. Just an amazing antenna. Small satellite setup. Was really proud about this. Kind of like I'm doing with EME. I wanted to get active, so these are some really big antennas for satellite, all with preamps and just fantastic. I'm up on a knoll here. I'm about 120 feet above anything that's surrounding for about probably 5 miles or so. So it's a great takeoff advantage to see the horizon. This is the 5.5 acres that we're on with some of the locations. One of my guiding principles and agreements with my wife is I have no antennas in the front yard. I forgot to tell her that was just transmitting antennas. I do have an 8-circle array that I have in the southeast corner of the front yard. The house is kind of not in the best location. I didn't actually have it about 5 feet from the road if it was me, but that's not the way it turned out. So antennas are spaced out pretty much all over the place. For receiving, it's a different story. I got a great neighbor. We've got about 80 acres behind the house here, and every fall I get the kids to help me put all these beverages out, and we can get all 22 out in about 4 hours with their help. If I do it a little slower, I can enjoy some beer and the tractor, and it's really not that hard to get put out, but really nice putting these out. And of course, this has made all the difference on the low bands. And it's if you haven't listened to a beverage or used a receiving antenna, you're really missing out on something. It really makes a difference. And on 80 and 160, you just cannot work all zone very easily without them. Pictures of me, I'm pretty proud of my service, my wife, and what my smile looks like at 200 feet. And briefly, back in 2006, I started this. I got a photo from Dave, Kilowatt 4 Sugar Victor, when he was on Peter 1 Island. And it simply said, "Hi, Jose," holding up a piece of paper. And my wife said, "That is a cool idea. Why don't you try to get others to send you some photos?" Well, I did that. And it was like, people thought I had 3 heads. Like, who the heck is this Jose guy? But after I got 4 or 5 really good DXpeditions from friends who went on those trips, it was almost like people couldn't say no. So currently I have 277 Hi Jose photos, similar to what I'm going to show you. And it's really, really been fun. This is the Hi Jose photo that started it all. This is Dave, like I said, on Peter 1. Here's Paul N6 PSC with Dave WD5COV when they were over in 7 Ocean 6 Tango. That's a great photo, by the way. Here's Jerry WB9Z on Amsterdam Island. We got Oga Salara. We got Marion Island represented. We got Spratly Island on the left, and we got Willis there. And the world famous FT8WW, when he was down there, he was more than happy to do that for me, which was crazy good. He was originally going to take that outside, but it wasn't like he was in Aruba. It was really tough to get a good day to take a photo outside. So is that cool or what? And that really is the last slide, by the way, gentlemen. You got questions, fire them off. I love to answer them.
Anybody have questions for Mr. Jose?
Just want to say very cool. Thank you very much.
I wanted to ask if there's a plan B. Do you have any backup? Is there anybody trained to do what you do in the event that at some point you're unable to continue?
That's a very good question. In my line of work, single point of failure is bad, and I am a single point of failure. If for those WPX fans that are out there, you probably already know that we've had a Steve Bolia who had it for years, got sick during COVID, and his wife as well, and he did not have a backup either. And I'm going to his house this coming week to pick up the thumb drive, the magic thumb drive. And we do have a manager identified that's going to have to learn from scratch with a little bit of help from me on how to, what I think best manage that. For the worked all zone, no, I do not. It is, I'm going to say it's not for the faint of heart. It's not terribly hard. The systems make it easier, but the dedication is harder to find than the actual someone just to run the process, right? So there's a novice would be really hard to take it over. So there's so much, I'll say, tribal knowledge with zones, tribal knowledge with just the way the system works. And then we have to get IT's trust and okay to give them the same access they gave me, which I call them God's eye access, right? It's nice having everybody's access because I can't do anything with your TQSL file, which is by design. That's a good thing. But it is nice to jump in there and be able to answer questions as if I were you, because I'm looking at the same thing you are. If I did not have that ability, it would be impossible to run this program. So if I find the right person, and I'm always looking, none of my card checkers either want it, nor do I think they really want to do it. But I'll have to do that. My birthday is Monday. I'm 61. I still think I'm 42-ish. So by the time I can't climb anymore, might be the time to find somebody. But unless the good Lord takes me off the earth, I'm not going to give it up too quickly.
Thank you, Jose. I appreciate it. Any more questions from the group? We got one more question from the group, and then we'll go to the Zoom folks.
This is Bill, Alpha 4 Quebec. Where in Foreland were you when you got the N4BAA call first time originally?
I was on Amelia Island, Florida, northeast corner of in Nassau County, and I took that. I got that after I took my extra class in Savannah.
Okay, I grew up in Palm Beach County,
Yep.
and it was 50 years ago last month that I first got licensed.
Yeah, I stretched it up to, congratulations. I'd stretched mine to 50. I got licensed first in 77, so knocking on 50 here soon.
Can you hear me? N6VR.
I can hear you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. I remember meeting you in, I think, Norfolk and
That's correct.
back then. So we go back a long way. So it's nice to see you. And I'm going to recheck my WAZ awards and see what I can do to upgrade.
Please do. Be glad to take a look at that. If you have any questions, please let me know. One of the things I'm kind of proud of, having moved around so much, I know too many people that have been anchored for 30 something years, right? And that's okay. But I've been a member of the Florida Contest Group, which was originally the North Florida DX Association, Potomac Valley Radio Club, YCCC, and now FRC, and now SMC, Society of Midwest Contesters. So I've gotten an earful from a lot of people, and Norfolk has one of my back in the PVRC days was good days. Thank you.
Hey, Jose, Brian, W7JET. I just pushed an application through on Logbook of the World for you.
Awesome. I'll get it in the morning. Make sure you report back how quick I was.
First of all, I just want to say thank you very much. Great presentation. Bob, K7 BHM. I'm an old timer. Been here, ham licensed almost 70 years. Got it in 57. Like I say, I'm an old timer. I do not use Logbook of the World. Do you still accept cards, real honest to goodness cards for the awards?
Only if they're in Braille. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. To be honest with you, the process is a little, and I'm glad you asked this question because it's not asked enough. There's a couple of ways. Again, this is your award and your application. I'm not going to pass an edict unless it's a rule it's going to be a rule violation. If you have cards and you're willing to take a file that I have, it's a simple Excel file, and if you'll type in the data, I can upload it so that Logbook of the World reconciles with your logbook, even if it's a QSL card. There are a lot of people just say, Jose, I'm going to send it to you handwritten, and the cards, get it into the system. I don't care whether it's on Logbook of the World or not. A little bit selfish, and I'm not going to make somebody do something, but if it's like a 5-band worked all zone future application, and I have to go back and I have to reconcile and go through paper, for some people that gets a little bit financially, I make it financially painful because we're talking hours, and it's really, really hard. So a little bit of, like I said, partnership and collaboration up front, even when they're 100% QSL cards, and I get about 10 a year where it's all 200 zones for 5-band worked all zone, are all QSL cards from back in the day. I'm more than happy to do that because almost everybody in this room, if they've submitted for DXCC or worked all zone, it was nothing but cards early on. So I have to support that. I love looking through those cards. I like seeing, having a nostalgic moment, remembering my contacts with person when I'm checking the cards. So I'm not going to not check them. And if you're at Dayton, you'll see me checking cards at Dayton. I live about 50 minutes away, so it's easy for me. And as I'm checking those cards, if someone's talking, I could care less because I'm in Renaissance mode. So yes, if you have those cards, let me know. We'll work it out 100%.
Okay. Well, real good. I appreciate that. I've got 338 confirmed, all bands. So when I get home tonight, I'll start digging them out and you'll see them pretty soon. Thank
What
you.
are you missing? San Felix and what else?
Bouvet and North Korea. And hopefully Bouvet will come up here pretty soon.
Well, they've been on a couple of times in your 70 years.
I know it. When both of them were on in the early 2000s, I was in the process of moving and no antennas. So that was my problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any more questions from the group here or any more questions from the Zoom attendees?
Yeah, I have a question. I would say it's NET AA7A. When you say RTTY, do you mean digital or do you really mean RTTY?
I'm really mean ready. So that's a good distinction. That question has not come up before, but it's a good one. For worked all zone, they're mutually exclusive. There's digital, which is FT8, FT4, PSK, and then there's RTTY. RTTY is a totally separate mode in worked all zone. Unlike DXCC, it's all digital.
Does Log of the World produce, it only produces logs that say digital? They don't distinguish. I'm on ARL and I was on the Log of the World committee.
Mhm.
I don't believe they produce a distinction in their reports.
They actually do.
They do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you go to your account, what you'll find is if it was entered manually, a lot of times your FT8s will be listed as RTTY mode, or RTTO mode can be a digital mode, so it takes a little bit of work there. But the ones that are listed as RTTY, I'm gonna check here in a second. I think they are true RTTY mode, and I do know your call sign very well.
Yeah. Okay, it's just interesting to me because for me, I started doing electronic logs in 2004, and I kind of quit doing RTTY about then. So everything I have on RTTY is before that, so it's not hard for me to separate.
Yeah, I'll get with Dave also. I'm pretty sure you know AA6YQ. He also spearheaded that effort as well. But I'm almost positive there's an RTTY pure distinction on there.
Okay, I haven't really worked the WAZ awards through Log of the World yet, but I mean, it's just as looking at your 70 bands or whatever you got modes, it's just like a lot of work. I probably am close to, but it would take me about a year to get that sorted out.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. And worked all states for RTTY is uniquely tracked too in Logbook of the World as well.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Thank you for the question, Ned.
Any more questions from anybody?
Way past my bedtime. You might as well keep me up longer.
No, we would love to, and I can talk forever, but we're just not going to put anybody through that. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate it very much. We appreciate it. It's really good information. And on that happy note, I will bid you 73 and come on back whenever you want to.
Yeah, 73 to the club. I appreciate all of you, and keep smiling like that. Chase those zones. And if I can be of any help, please don't hesitate to contact me. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. We will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.